This is Sarah Van Shagen here with Todd Dwyer in the ReGeneration Roadtrip. You can find coverage on Grist.org and ReGeneration.org. I'm here with Jerry Neal of the Leopold Center for Sustainable Agriculture at Iowa State University. Tell us a little bit about the Leopold Center and the work that you guys do.
Leopold Center is formed in 1987 here in the state of Iowa, kind of as a result of a crisis in water quality. They had something called the blue baby syndrome, which happens when you get too many nitrates in your water, and people's attention was drawn very much to water quality in the state. And that provided a safe enough space that the legislators at the time and activists were able to get some legislation passed to start thinking about how they improved water quality in the state. So one of the things that they did with that is that they established the Leopold Center for Sustainable Agriculture. And they have kind of, I would call it, it's like a tax or fees that are on the sale of pesticides and herbicides and nitrogen here in the state. And that money is put into a pool. Part of it comes to the Leopold Center for Sustainable Agriculture. Part of it goes to the University of Northern Iowa, and part of it to the Center for Health Effects and Contaminants at the University of Iowa. But at the Leopold Center, we're specifically tasked with thinking about agriculture. We are tasked to look at what the negative, both environmental but also social aspects of agriculture are with the way that we're doing it, and what are different ways to do it, and then to work with the Extension Service here in the state to take that knowledge back out to people in the state.
So what kind of projects are you doing? What kind of tangible things can people see?
Well, one of the things that, if you're watching the YouTubes, you'll see that we're doing is working on riparian buffers and grassed waterways and different uses of the landscape. And why it's important to us is because what we want to do is to think about having more living cover on the land. And we want to think about kind of reintegrating livestock systems and plant communities in our agriculture and food system.
We're looking at a picture here of what Bear Creek used to look like in 1990, and now it looks like this. So tell me, guys, what changed and why is it important?
What changed is we found a willing landowner who was interested in getting some wildlife habitat on the ground and also improving the quality of his stream. And we proposed to him that we plant a plant community that consisted of a number of different plant species that would be a benefit to the stream.
The Leopold Center was instrumental in providing that initial support, and then since that time we've found a number of willing landowners up and down the stream to adopt this practice and allow us onto the land. And then what we do is, as a research and teaching institution, is then come in and do the research to figure out how well they work, why landowners would adopt it, what value there is to the landscape and to the wildlife and to the people of this county, and then try to provide that into tools that they'll use in other places of the state.
And so this buffer zone here, these plants, what are they doing to help keep the stream here?
If these plants weren't here, soil that's being eroded from the uplands would make its way directly into the stream. By planting perennial plant community in this area here, the water comes down the field, the crop field, hits the edge of this plant community that's there all the time, is slowed up, drops its sediment, water enters into the soil, is filtered by the plants and the soil organisms, comes out into the stream through the soil, very clean water.
And so how do you convince the landowners here and the people of Iowa to adopt these practices, to take what you've done here in this experimental project and take it on a larger scale?
That is one of the challenges that we have in the face of agricultural policy. The land, it's some of the most expensive, most valuable land in the world. We can grow the richest crops. We're the breadbasket of the world. But the landowners do recognize that there are consequences, there are issues with the way that we are working the landscape. And so once they realize that there is benefit, and that if we as society want to provide them incentives to be able to do that, then we see a lot of them do that. In the case of this landowner, once we got this established and the landowners up and downstream, they saw this looks nice, it's working, there's wildlife out here, I like to view them, I like to hunt them, I like to bring my grandkids down here, and it's really that that which brings them in.
So what's next for the Leopold Center? What else are you guys working on?
Yeah, this is a plant community that continues to mature and continues to develop. So one of the most important things we're looking at right now is what are the long-term benefits of a system like this. The trees are now large enough that they're starting to shade the stream. That's starting to impact the aquatic community in the stream itself. We're very interested in the ability of this plant community not only to stop the soil and water that's coming from up there, but also to help stabilize stream banks, and that takes some time for a plant community to develop to the point where it can do that kind of thing.
I'd say with the development of the technologies to use these materials as biofuels, that there's an opportunity to use these areas in the landscape as an alternative fuel. So on Lon Strum's here, he adopted this when he saw what was happening on Ron Risdahl's land, where we just were, and it was a wet period. He has difficulty farming down in here, and the important point is he saw what was happening down on Ron's. The landowners don't adopt these practices because they read a brochure or because they see a video or because they're told to in some USDA office. They adopt this because they're talking to their neighbors in the farm co-ops, at coffee shops, and they're saying, how does that work? And they say, hey, it's working well, the pheasants are great, and you ought to do that. And so it's very retail in which this is adopted.